everybody. We're so excited to get started today. I'm going to get our guests in. I'm going to be going live with Essen. We're going to be talking about the ERAS application and your selected experiences section. Let me just get them invited in and we will get going. You want to leave in the comments before we get started. Feel free to leave any questions about the ERAS application or the experiences or just stuff that you might have questions for us about. Hello.
Hi, Amanda. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Sorry, there were some issues with getting. I went on your live, but it wouldn't let me ask to join. So I was like,
Yeah, I noticed that. No worries. We are here.
We're here. I'm so excited to get started.
Me too.
I want to thank you for joining us today or for doing this with me.
Yeah, happy to be here, and thank you for accepting our invitation. Yeah.
Of course.
So yeah, I was telling them on the previous live that we have like 8 questions for you in regards to this section of the ERAS application about the experience. People may have questions in regards to what's important, what should they highlight, what do program directors think are most important. So I think you have more experience than me to give more insight on that. So, well, do you mind starting introducing yourself?
Sure. For those of you that don't know me or who aren't familiar, I am the Director of Communications for Matcha Resident. I'm also our podcast host. I do a lot of our collaborations and events, things like that. If you go to the IMG event in August, you'll see me there with our team. I really try to give resources and just share as much information as possible with IMGs so that they have the ability to apply for residency without feeling like they're completely lost in the process.
That's amazing. Yeah. Okay, so I'll start with the first question. It would be, what are the key elements that residency programs look for in the selected experience section?
So I think that what program directors are looking for in the selected experiences section, because you only get 10, right? You can only pick 10 experiences out of all of your experiences. I think they're looking for something that's well-rounded and will make sense to them as a person. So you don't want to have maybe like if you're applying for internal medicine, maybe you don't want to have a bunch of experiences on there that were for something like emergency medicine or pediatrics or something.
Right.
You want to make sure that you're focused on strategizing your application towards the specialty and the type of programs that you're thinking about. So if you have maybe some leadership experience or you have volunteer experiences, I think that's just as important to share in that section as things like U.S. clinical experience.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's very important. Well, the second question would be, what advice do you have for applicants who have minimal clinical experience and how can they make the most of what they have? That's very common. I usually receive questions about that. I only have like 1 volunteer experience 3 years ago. Do you think that's enough? What do you think?
So it is hard, right? Because I think the issue that comes with those experiences, you're getting letter of recommendations. And you really do want strong recent letter of recommendations. So I do think it's important that if you maybe only have something from 3 years ago, to try and find something recent, even if it's just like finding a connection like, hey, can I shadow you for a little bit? Or is there any type of way that I can help with your program or anyone that you could recommend me to, so that you are getting those more recent letter of recommendations. But I don't think that there is any magic number. Like I know some people have a ton of clinical experience and some people have like very little clinical experience and they still match too. So I don't think it's a magic number. I think it's about using it in the best way to improve your application.
Exactly. I think that it's allowed to do like a good performance in your minimum experience, if that's the case, and to just get the benefit of it. The third question would be, can you provide examples of how to effectively highlight significant experiences in this section?
Yes, I can. So with this section, right, it's really important that you're showing why these 10 experiences are the 10 experiences that you picked to show them. You don't really want to have in filler experiences either. Like if you don't have 10 that you think were really worth showing who you are, don't try and put something in there that's going to be like, why would they include that? That doesn't make a lot of sense here. But there is now, in addition to it with the selected experiences, you are picking 3 of your 10 experiences as meaningful experiences, and you're reflecting on why those are important to you. I think really picking which ones you use as your meaningful experiences strategically is helpful for standing out with your application. So if in your personal statement you're saying that you are really great with patient care or you're really passionate about volunteer work, make sure that you are showing that again in your meaningful experiences.
Yeah, okay. I think that's very related to the letters of recommendation that you are getting, right? The things that you describe should make sense on the letter that you have.
Exactly, exactly. I always say when people ask me, how do I get the strongest application possible? You integrate your application.
Exactly.
There is no one size fits all, but if all of your LORs are claiming that your strengths are the same, your personal statement is showing these things, your experiences are showing these things, then they're going to say, wow, this candidate is really passionate about this part of the field, and I'd like to speak with them. They seem like they have something that they could give to the program.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Another question would be for international medical graduates, what are some tips for effectively showcasing experiences in their ERAS application?
So for international medical graduates, especially, I think it's really important that you also give a little bit of like homage to your culture and where you're from and what you've had to go through in order to pursue residency in the US. Typically, most IMGs are dealing with things that aren't easy, or there's a reason that they're looking to seek more medical education in the US, or they're looking to move, whether it be family reasons, or they are looking for certain resources, or they want to come and learn here and then go back to their home country where they can give back to the community. I think there are always things like that, especially for IMGs. So including that in, like, personalizing your application and saying, like, look, I'm jumping through all these hoops because I'm passionate about and I have something to offer as an IMG that I think will change some type of medicine that you're giving in the US.
Yeah. Do you think it matters? Another question that I have. Do you think it matters if someone mentions like they want to go back to their home country after training?
I don't think so. I think it obviously would depend on the program,
Yeah.
but I think that you only want to match into a program that is good for you, right? And as much as they're interviewing you, you're interviewing a program. And if
Yeah.
they aren't open to the idea that, oh, they might want to go back to their home country because that's their community, then maybe that's not the program for you because they don't really care about your
Yeah.
values.
You are right. Perfect. Then another question would be, how should applicants describe their experiences to make them stand out to residency programs? I think this is very important because they give their perspective, but I think that it should be more than just like that. What do you think? Yeah.
I completely agree. I think it should be more than just your perspective. I think that sometimes people like to fill that application out in bullet point. I don't really like that. To each their own. If that's what your advisor told you to do, they think it's easier for the program director. I totally get that. But I personally don't think that it is because it doesn't get them to know you. Whereas when you take it in a paragraph form and you create a little bit more of a narrative, I think you can show what you did, what you learned, and then like what you did and then how you learned from it and how you grew from it all in one section rather than just being like took blood and did this, interviewed with patients to get care. You know what I mean? Instead, you can say interviewed one-on-one with patients to develop practices for thing and learn how to better my communication skills. Things like that will actually take you a little bit farther.
Exactly. I think that giving the more than you can, not just the basic stuff, would give you more opportunities to do like a very attractive section,
I
right?
completely.
Yeah. The next question is, are there common mistakes applicants make when filling out the experiences, and how can they avoid them?
Yeah, there definitely are common mistakes that people make when they're filling out the experience. Um, don't proofread. Not to be like that's one thing you definitely want to be doing when you are going to submit your application. Have three people read that through. You don't want to submit something that's one of the most important documents of your life that you've been working towards for years, and then there's like three typos, and the program director is like, oh, well, they must not have really cared much because they didn't take the
Exactly.
time to review it.
Yeah.
So that for sure. And then also like really utilizing each part of the application because for like the experience section, there's also primary focus area and key characteristics. I don't know if people know that or they think about it, but utilize that because that might be a way for you to stand out to a program director. They're seeing what things you were learning the most in each experience, and also that will allow them to see how well-rounded it is in a minute. And we don't know how program directors are really filtering through applications and deciding who to interview. They could potentially be marking down things like, I want to see candidates that had communication skills in like things like that, because that's how you're going to really get yourself across as quickly as possible. Since they're reading thousands of applications, you want to make sure that there's no reason that you're going to not be noticed. You're not leaving anything blank. You're utilizing everything.
Yeah, I think that's very important. That reminds me, like 2 years ago, I had a conversation with a program director, and he told me, I look like how they write, how they describe their stuff, because those are the little things that matters to me, because those communication skills will turn out in the future into patients. So for me, it's very important the way they think and they write what they are thinking. So I think that's a very important key.
I completely agree. I think it's the time for you to be vulnerable, right? And humble brag a little bit. You don't need to go all the way out, but this is the time to say, I'm actually really great at this, and I think that that's something that I can bring to your program. Or I've seen that you guys really like to pursue this in this field, or you have a really strong mentorship program, and that's something I'm also passionate about. Just finding those ways to really relate and humanize yourself so that you're not just an application.
Exactly. Yeah. Next question is, what should applicants do if their experiences are not directly related to the special they're applying for? This is extremely common because sometimes it's very hard to get an opportunity of an experience in the US, either it is observership, clerkship, or research. And sometimes they get an opportunity that is nothing related. They just want to come to the US and they just want to have like the first experience, but sometimes it's the only experience that they get until the time of the application. So what do you think about that?
Definitely. So I think it's still useful, right? Anytime that you're going to come to the US and be able to get some experience with the medical field in the US, because it's probably going to be quite different from where you come from, it's a great way of showing I can integrate here. I have no problem coming over. I can, culturally relate to here. I'm happy here, that type of thing. I think that's one thing that's always important for IMGs, just to show that you will be able to integrate, because it can be quite a big difference. And then additionally, I would say that it's all about how you frame it, right? So even when you get that LOR, just maybe make sure that you tell your LOR author, I'm actually going to be applying for this other specialty. So I would really appreciate if you could maybe mention these qualities in me, since that would be more related to that other specialty.
Yeah, that's a great advice. Yeah. And how do you think that they react when, like, they will be willing to do that, even if it's not related to the specialty?
I mean, I don't see why not. Like, as long if it's somebody who's willing to write an LOR for you, they think highly of you, then I mean, I think if you explain to them, it's really important to me. I'm actually quite passionate about going for this other specialty. I'm really grateful for the experience that we had together. But if there was some way, like, you could highlight these qualities, since I'm going to be talking about them in my personal statement and in my application, it would just be great to kind of have that backup.
Yeah.
And I think them understanding that will always do that. Something that's helpful to do is you can send your personal statement to your LOR author. This way they know better how you are presenting yourself
Yeah.
and what is, passionate for you. Because, they write a lot of LORs. They might not remember everything.
Yeah, that's amazing. The last question is, how can applicants demonstrate their impact of their experiences on their decision to pursue a specific specialty in their personal statement?
I think that your specialty choice is probably the most important choice that you're making, right? Because once you get into that specialty, that's what you're going to be doing day in and day out.
Yeah.
That's who you're going to be around. That's like how you're spending your nights. You know how it is.
Yeah.
So I think that it's really important to show the personal side of why you've chosen your specialty. I think sometimes people will go for something like just because either like they go for internal medicine because they know there's a lot of internal medicine spots, or maybe they go for surgery because they want to do something that feels kind of cut edge or like cool.
Yeah.
I think, and that's okay if that's why you make those
Yeah.
choices. You're totally allowed to make those
Yeah.
choices. But I think bringing the personal side to it a bit, like when you share patient stories, or maybe you talk about an experience that you had in your own family growing up, and that's kind of how you developed passion for that specific specialty, or for the type of doctor that you are for that specialty.
Yeah, I think that you have to do like a deep connection with what you're applying to, because that's going to be for the rest of your life. So you're going to have like a good story to share, like, and by good story, I mean like something natural, like
Mm-hmm.
it's real, while you're doing this. I think that program directors can sense this 100% if this is real or if it's just superficial, and that matters a lot.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And I find that a lot of the people who I've talked to who do get a lot of interviews or whatever, They're people that shared a really vulnerable side of themselves, who shared something that was really difficult they went through. Maybe they had a family member get sick, or maybe their home country was in war. Maybe they had, like, there are many different scenarios of people I've talked to, and being open about that, more times than not, they're going to actually say, I want to speak with you more because that sounds super interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to read
The comments,
questions
yeah,
that
I
we have in the
saw
chat?
there was
Yeah.
getting a lot of questions coming in.
Yeah.
I know there's one I saw about a medical scribe.
Mm-hmm.
This one says, if I get ECFMG certified by December, provided all other like LOR are available, will I still be able to apply for Match 2025? Yeah, you can apply if you're not ECFMG certified. So as long as you have all of the other parts of your application, that's fine. And then just make sure that they know that you're doing the process through to get certified.
Yeah. Another question. Can you record this meeting? Yeah, I will save this live,
We
right?
will, yes, we will post this, I promise.
Another one was about, I don't find it, but it was about research. Do you think that the amount of publication matters?
I mean, I think it matters depending on the specialty.
Yeah.
I think some specialties require more research and publications than others. So I would just say make sure that you're looking into what the programs are typically looking for your specialty. Once you you can use Match Residence customized list. Once you go on and you start looking through the specialties, you can kind of see what each program is looking for in terms of how much clinical experience, if they are requiring research, if they're requiring publications or not. I don't think it's make or break though, honestly. I feel like publications are always helpful, but I really don't think that they're like be all end all.
Yeah, I think exactly the same. Some people think that research is everything, and it's not. I don't think so.
No, no, research definitely is everything. I think, honestly, I really believe in just a well-rounded application, showing that you took every opportunity that came to you, you built connections, you worked on yourself, you did everything that you could to prepare yourself. I think that's what's going to give them the most pause for, oh, this person could be great to be around. I might want to talk to this person at 3 a.m. after we've had a 12-hour shift together, stuff like that.
Yes. I think this is the last question. I'm planning to the 2026 match, and I have a year off to prepare for the steps. Would it be better to do an internship for this year, or focus on getting the US experience this year?
See if I can find that one.
I think it's the last one.
Oh, it's the most recent one. Please, are the programs website linked to the match room? Yeah, you can see the programs for each of match residence cards. They also have contact information on there for who the program director is. Okay. Where did I have an interview? So, for the 2026 match, you have a year to prepare for the steps. We better do an internship this year or focus on getting US experience this year. That's kind of dependent. I don't know. I can't just say that based off of like, it would depend on what the rest of your application looks like. If you don't have any other US experience, then I would say focus on getting US experience. That's the US based LORs are going to go a lot farther for you when it comes time to apply than just having an internship in your home country.
Yeah. This question is how to check the list of the dermatology programs. I think that's very ambiguous. The best program for you, I think that's per person, right? You cannot generalize which are the best programs. Everybody has like different interests. So whichever works best for you, I think that's the best program for you.
Yeah, I would say do some research, spend some time looking at the ideas of the programs. Also think about what do you want your life to look like after residency? Are you seeking research? Are you seeking a fellowship? Are you like, what are you seeking? And then that will kind of also help you determine which program might be the best track for you.
Yeah.
Is it risky to apply to ERAS without step 2 test score right away? Honestly, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I wish that wasn't the case. But now that it's pass fail for step 1, if you don't have your step 2 score, it's a bit more difficult to stand out in the pack.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, I feel like we took most of the questions.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for accepting this live. I think it's a very important matter now that they are filling their application. They might be kind of confused on how should they do best, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and for I feel like we did have a really good discussion. I learned more from your perspective as well.
Yeah.
We should definitely do another one of these down the line. Maybe we'll do it on personal statements or
Yeah.
something else if anybody has recommendations of things that they want to do.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that personal statement would be a good one.
yeah, I think so too. So we'll do personal statement next. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot us a message. I know that we are always happy to take your DMs or your
Yeah.
calls, and I'm sure Essen is the same way.
Yeah. So, okay, thank you so much.
Thank
We'll
you.
sell the live, right, in your profile?
Yes. I will get it. I'll get it. They'll put a cover on it, and then I'll get it
Awesome.
posted.
Thank you so much, man. It was a pleasure.
You too. Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.